Hello, my name is Shy. I have been diagnosed with major depressive disorder, bipolar disorder, and post traumatic stress disorder. Insert music. So I'm going to start with the check in. I haven't done one of these in a while, but I'm going to take it old school. Starting off with the three words that are describing my mood right now in this moment and the intensity on a level of 1 to 100. These numbers do not have to equal 100. So right now I am feeling, I'm excited, mostly about this topic. That's like at an 80%. I'm also feeling like highly distracted. So I'm very aware of all the noises that are around me. Like I'm listening to the heater. There's a train that goes by every so often. Also, I've been clicking my nails a lot. So that's like at 100%. I'm very distracted right now. And then also, I'm feeling really self-conscious. So let's just get this out of the way. Yes, there is a filter on. I'm using Snap Camera because my face is feeling like really flushed and I look real cute with this filter on, in my opinion. I look cute anyway, but I look real cute with this what's it called? Filter on. So feeling self-conscious at like 60%, which is high enough for me to turn on the filter. So moving on, more music. So this is definitely a New Year podcast. There's probably a lot of these coming out right now. Sorry, not sorry. 2020 was a year, so we're gonna talk about it for a bit. But I don't. I don't want to sit and talk about all of the ways that 2020 was terrible because I think we know that intimately, very, very intimately. Also, this is not the podcast I want to record. First, I'd like to start off by saying that this has been the first year this first full year, like all of 2020 from January to now. Well, there's still time. But I have not been hospitalized for any kind of mental things all of 2020. No emergency rooms, no inpatient, no outpatient, no issues with that in all of 2020, which is kind of a big deal because that has not been the case since 2016. So, congratulations, Shy. You made it. Yay. And it's not like 2020 didn't, try the absolute mess out of me. It started off really rough. One of my first memories of 2020 was preparing for this field trip that I did for work. The field trip was in February, but I think I spent most of the first 2 months preparing for it. That was a nightmare. And then shortly after that was like another slew of personal family things. And then immediately after that was the quarantine. So it's not like 2020 didn't try me. And there was a couple of times that I almost let it win because I'm just like, I don't need this. I treat my life like a minimum wage job where I'm constantly thinking, I don't need this. I don't need this disrespect. I'm gonna quit. But knowing good and well I ain't got nowhere else to go. Like, it's either this life or... So here I am. Living this life. Also, there's more than just kind of like a year. Like, there's another kind of... There's a lot of like long-term things that I've done. So, for example, I've been working out for 8 months. Around this time last year, I was very aware that I could fit in like very few of my clothes. I had an interview in February of 2020, and I was just distraught because I couldn't fit into any of my nice clothes. And I figured I needed to present myself well for this interview because I'm black and people can't wait to find a reason as to why I'm not being professional, black people included. But I lost that. Well, I didn't really lose the weight. I lost the inches. And so that was important to me. My weight is still higher than it has been ever in my life. But I lost the inches so I can now fit back into my clothes, which was more important to me. I'm not actually a scale watcher as much as I am like an inch watcher because I can't afford new clothes. So I need to stay the same size even if I gain or lose weight. I've also been doing 2 years of dental care. As of like last week, my dentist told me that we are done with all of the kind of like urgent work that she started me off with. So I have a healthy smile for the first time that I can say since like childhood. So after, I don't know, I was real young when I stopped going to the dentist. I don't have very many memories of the dentist. And then I didn't go in high school, I didn't go in college. So I started going to the dentist 2 years ago, and I now have a smile that's healthy enough for me to start doing more cosmetics things. Like, so I'm thinking I might want to get braces. I'm thinking I might want to like get an implant because I have some teeth missing. Apparently, a lot of people have teeth missing. That's like a thing. A lot of people don't have all their teeth anymore. I don't know if she said that to me to make me feel better or whatever, but I love my smile, and I can now start doing cosmetic things to it because my mouth is healthy again. I've also been doing like 14 months of hair care, so a little bit more than a year. But I got a really good haircut last October, and I got some really good lessons about how to take care of my hair, like what to put in my body, what to put on my hair, how to take care of it, like which oils to and to not use. I don't use any oils in my hair anymore. I'm sorry, this is not about my hair care, but check out, wait, hold on. I got edges. Look at this. All the way around, yes. Also, I have been cooking like most of my meals, like 80% of my meals for like the last 5 months now. I grew up eating out, like restaurants, buffets, takeout, whatever. And I did that throughout college. I did that after college. So recently I started cooking, and turns out pretty good way to spend your time. That's great. So what I've really learned is that consistency, first of all, consistency is really good for me. Like routines and schedules, this kind of like feeds my soul. That's gotta be like my Virgo rising or something like that, because my Aries sun does not like routine. Like we like some adventure, but like my very depressed Virgo rising needs it needs something a little bit more stable than that. So I found that I'm really good at that. So I want to set more goals, because the more goals that I set and reach and exceed, the better I feel about myself. And the less I crave external validation, like less I kind of like seek things out. Yeah, so congratulations, Shy, on completing this year. There's still time. But completing this year, relatively intact. So, why did I fall off? I've been debating telling this story, because the reason I fell off is the exact reason I've been debating telling the story. So, I started this podcast when I was at a very low point. I still am, but I was having a hard time remembering things, and I was trying to build a timeline. Most of my history had been wiped from my memory. I remembered how people in situations made me feel, but I couldn't actually remember what happened so much anymore, and I started piecing things together. And this was one of those ways that I was kind of keeping track of that. And then I would also talk to people about things that happened to me, because things definitely happened in secret where only me and the person involved in that story would know. And then there's some things that happened that were kind of public that I could just ask people. It's like, hey, did this happen? Did you see it that way? And it was assuring when people said, yes, it happened that way. That was messed up. When I first started this podcast, maybe 7 people listened to it, maybe. And 5 of those were my family members. So that was fine. And then it started to grow. It got to the point where on any given day I could post and there were 40 unique people listening to it. And what really got weird for me was when people started reaching out to me to say, hey, I listened to this podcast where you talked about this super personal thing and I wanted to talk to you about it. I'm like, no, what? It's sweet. It's wonderful. Like, I love it. I love that this podcast has touched as many people as it has. I guess to me, I kind of always felt like this was a little bit of a diary. I know it's a very public diary. I get that. It's everywhere. I don't really have secrets, and I think secrets are how this country works. It's how this world works. That's how corporations survive. They survive off of secrets. Most managers and supervisors, the way that they're able to get things done is by telling one person one thing and someone else something else. Like, it's just how things operate. And it's not how I can operate while I'm trying to piece together pieces of my life. So there's that. And what kind of did it for me, there was a woman who I work with who has literally never had a conversation with me before. She sends me an email. She says, "Shy, I listened to your most recent episode of your podcast. It's wonderful. Just wanted to say that." And my first reaction was, "Oh my God, that's great." And my second reaction was, "Oh my God, that's terrible." Because I started thinking, I'm talking about work in this podcast. I'm talking about things that happened to me that you weren't there for, because she's not on my immediate team, but she's kind of like adjacently connected, and she emails me and she's like, "I listened to this," and oh man, it messed me up. And I just overthought it for months, clearly. But I've decided that the way that I deal with the way people treat me is, I don't want to manage how other people respond to the way that I deal with things. I feel like you can choose how you treat someone. You cannot choose how they choose to respond to it. And that's kind of what's getting me back into this. Because I am going to talk about work. I am going to talk about my family. I am going to talk about my friends. I am going to talk about things that happen to me and how I process them, because that is my process. If the way I see it, if you want me to tell pleasant stories about you, be pleasant to me. And sometimes you can't. And sometimes I'm going to process it in a very public platform, because that's just what I do. So everybody has decisions to make. And I guess that's where I'm currently landing. I don't know if that's a good idea or not, but that's where I'm at. So why am I saying all this? Because one, I'm saying I'm coming back. I'm coming back to podcasting. I am coming back to this platform. I am coming back to bringing in guests. I'm coming back to talk about topics. I'm coming back to teach about things that happened with my therapist and like in my life. Like, I am coming back to this place that once kept me alive. Like, when I didn't want to be here on this world at all, this little space of the internet kept me here. And I'm coming back to it because I've learned over this year and these months of doing different things in consistent ways, that when I am consistent with myself and taking care of myself, I do pretty all right. So this podcast cares for me. This is how I care for me. So I'm going to continue to care for me. And I don't care if it makes anyone else uncomfortable. Applause. I don't know. I'm really excited about that kind of revelation, because like, I used to care. I probably still do a little bit, but I used to care a lot about what people thought. But here I am declaring that I don't care anymore. I'm not declaring that I don't care anymore. I'm declaring that I do. I'm going to do it anyway. One of my therapists once said to me, "Scared is how we feel. Brave is what we do." So I'm going to act out of bravery right now. So why is this a New Year podcast? Because I am coming to you with my New Year's resolutions. But as a person who has studied CBT and the other one, DBT, the therapies, as a person who has studied the IOP therapies, the intensive outpatients therapies, I have to do things in a different way. So one of the things that I was taught was SMART goals. So SMART is an acronym, and a lot of us heard this before, but I'm going to go through them one more time. So SMART, starting with S, is specific. What is that goal? You have to be able to like specifically articulate it. So I can't say I'm going to be nicer. It has to be something a little bit more specific than that. I am going to call. I am going to, naming a thing. The next one is measurable. I need to be able to know when it's done. I cannot say I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to say I'm going to lose this many pounds. That's how you measure it. The next three are debated. So the A is either attainable or achievable, but the idea is like, can you like do that? Is that something that's actually possible? So I can't say I'm gonna get married by this time next year, because that takes someone else. And what I've learned in my mental journey of well-being, I can't make anybody do anything. I can make me do things. That's it. And so I'm going to focus on me. So something like that, not necessarily attainable. The next one is realistic or relevant. So I think relevant is more so in the business world, and realistic is more so in the personal world. I'm going to try and blend the two. So I'm thinking about things that are both relevant and realistic, meaning that if something happens that nobody's going to foresee, like a pandemic, then, maybe some things can change, because is this still relevant? My entire scope of work changed on March 13th, 2020, because a pandemic was announced. So, what's relevant? And then finally, there's time-based, timely, or time-bound, meaning it has to have a time associated with it. So I think all of my New Year's resolutions are by this time next year. Also, it's the first day of Kwanzaa, Zumoja. I have it tattooed on my arm. I'm not gonna show you. Just trust me. I have it tattooed on my arm. So the first New Year's resolution is relevant to my mental health. So the reason I gave you kind of like that big spiel before is because my first resolution will be, I resolve to post a new podcast every single month. So 1 podcast a month. And I'm not saying averaging 12 over the next year. If I decided to post 2 in 1 month, I still owe myself 1 that following month, because I'm going to post 1 new podcast every single month. When in that month, I don't know, because honestly, like, it still scares me to post these podcasts. My second resolution is related to my physical health. I will be doing I need to be able to do 5 chin-ups on my pull-up bar. I'm currently at like 2. 1.75. 1.5. I can definitely do 1 chin-up. But I'm going to try to be done with 5 by this time next year. My next New Year's resolution is related to my financial health. I want to have $3,000 in my savings account. I am currently at 0. I had a financial hardship this past month that caused me to drain absolutely everything I had stored away. And it actually happened pretty early in the month, so I wasn't able to get any of my family Christmas gifts, and I'm still really bummed out about it, and I haven't spoken to them because I'm just feeling really ashamed about it. Awkward. Whew. My other New Year's resolutions are not SMART goals because they're not as, tight, but I do want to also address my interpersonal relationships. I want, those to get better. I want to be better at, having friends, being a friend. I think I want to get closer to my cousins. I think I want to get closer to my aunts. I also want to kind of like be better with my spiritual journey. I think I believe in God or something. I definitely believe there's something. I don't know about God. I don't know about the universe or anything like that. I think I'm old enough now where I need to decide if I'm religious. Like, I've got to just go ahead and make that declaration because people want to know. when I'm dating, and I do date sometimes, I go, it kind of goes back to the interpersonal. I'm just really not good at it. But people ask me, it's just like, are you religious? What do you believe in? And I'm just like, and I always respond, I was raised Southern Baptist. Or I say, the church my parents go to. These are phrases that I use. I grew up in that church. I'm not a huge fan of like what currently happens there, but you know, this is something that I have to really figure out. I have to really figure out my spiritual stuff. And then, I'm also kind of like starting to, we'll talk about that later. And then my professional stuff. I need a direction. I'm kind of like floating. Well, that's not entirely true. My resume says that I'm currently floating. The things that I'm doing says I very much have a direction, but my resume has not changed in several years. So I would like that to, I don't know. I want to feel more I don't feel sure in my professional trajectory yet. I would like to feel more sure. I remember being 17 and I was just so sure about everything. I want that confidence back, even if like now I feel like I'm a lot more realistic. I'm a lot more better prepared, but I was so much more confident then, and I would love to get back into a place where I feel confident. And I want to address them in that order: interpersonal, spiritual, professional, because those are my priorities. I also had earlier this year I figured out what my priorities are, and my priorities are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Essentially, I care about making sure that I live a life that's comfortable. I am passionate about making sure that I exist in a society that I think is just and fair. And I am also invested in doing things I love. I saw this sign in Michael's. It said, do more of the things that you love. It was such a simple sign, but like I've been holding on to that in the back of my head all year long, to just do more things that I love. And I realized I love a lot of stuff. Like, I'm a fun person. I didn't know I was fun. Sorry, I got sidetracked. But yes, so my mental health, my physical health, and my financial health, those are where I'm putting my SMART goals. And then kind of more my vision board area, my interpersonal relationships, my spiritual relationship, my professional relationships. I'm going to address those in some kind of way. Correct. All right. This is way longer than I would normally do a podcast, but I think it's just easier to chat with you guys when I haven't done it in a long time. So, if you like that, make sure that you rate me 5 stars on Apple Podcast, or, give me a thumbs up, push the subscribe button. If you're on YouTube, you can find me on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, YouTube, and anywhere else that podcasts are streaming. See you in the new year. Thank you so much, and peace out.